James Miller pressed his palm against the cold glass of the Galactic Council station, staring out at ribbons of purple and gold nebula light threading through the void. The reflection staring back showed a man who looked 60 but had just turned 43. 5 years of watching a war tear civilizations apart will do that to you. The simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic service hung loose on his frame now. Behind him, the corridor hummed with alien voices and clicking footsteps as diplomats rushed between meetings. Not one of them glanced his way. To them, he was furniture, another primitive sitting in the corner, allowed to observe but never to speak. That's how they wanted it. Another world gone. He whispered the words to himself while reading the latest casualty report on his tablet. The Crest Empire had wiped out 3 Federation colonies this month alone. Each strike came faster and harder than the last. The Council's response grew weaker with every attack. A tall diplomat with skin like polished sapphire walked past, eyes locked straight ahead. Miller had tried talking to him last week about the children dying in the bombings. The alien had told him that humans were too primitive to grasp the sophisticated nature of interstellar conflict. Miller had smiled and nodded and written down every word. He turned from the window and made his way toward the observation gallery overlooking the main chamber. The space could hold tens of thousands, with seating arranged in rings that climbed toward the distant ceiling. Earth's designated area consisted of 3 lonely chairs pushed into the farthest corner. Some delegates called it the nursery section. When they thought no humans were listening, Miller settled into his usual seat and watched the emergency session begin. The Federation's speaker stood on the central platform, their body made of something that looked like living crystal. Behind them, holographic projections showed smoking craters where cities used to be. 3 million souls. The Federation speaker's voice broke on the words. 3 million refugees who thought they'd found safety on our colony. The Crest Empire sent no warning. No chance to evacuate, no mercy. Miller's knuckles went white as he gripped the armrests. He'd visited that colony 8 weeks ago. He remembered kids laughing in the gardens, families planting trees they thought would grow for generations. Now those people were ash and dust, erased by an empire that saw compassion as weakness. The Council's response played out exactly as Miller knew it would. Stronger economic sanctions against the Crest Empire. The head counselor announced in a voice designed to sound serious. We'll send a formal complaint regarding their violation of accepted warfare protocols. Miller wanted to stand up and scream. Sanctions. A letter. 3 million people murdered. And the Council was going to write a strongly worded letter, but he stayed quiet, kept taking his notes, kept playing the role they expected. The primitive who needed to learn from his betters. When the session ended, Miller walked back to his cramped office tucked behind a maintenance corridor. Every wall was covered in maps tracking the war's spread. Red pins marked fallen Federation worlds, blue marked Crest territory. The pattern was obvious to anyone who cared to look. The Empire was winning and their advance was heading straight toward human space. His computer blinked with an incoming message. Tom Reynolds, one of Earth's intelligence operatives stationed on the ship. The text was brief and urgent. Maintenance level 3. Now. Important. Miller straightened his uniform and headed for the elevators. As the lift dropped toward the lower levels, he thought about Earth's position in this mess. The Council saw humans as children barely past the Stone Age by galactic standards. They had no idea about the orbital construction yards hidden behind holographic camouflage. They'd never noticed Earth quietly reverse engineering every piece of alien technology, from crashed ships that washed up in human space. Most importantly, they didn't understand that being young and primitive meant humanity still remembered something these ancient civilizations had forgotten, that watching innocent people die and doing nothing about it wasn't sophistication, it was cowardice. The elevator opened onto a dim corridor lit by emergency strips. Reynolds stood in the shadows holding a data chip like it might explode. Miller could see stress written across his face in a way that broke through years of intelligence training. Reynolds pulled out a small device and activated it, creating an invisible bubble that would jam any listening equipment. You need to see this right now. Reynolds jammed the chip into his tablet with shaking fingers. We cracked the Crest Empire's military communications network. His hand trembled as he pulled up the files. Miller leaned close and felt his blood turn to ice. These are targeting coordinates, he said quietly, for attacks that haven't happened yet. Reynolds nodded. They're pushing into Earth's sector. 3 of these targets are only 2 jump points away from our colonies. Miller felt something cold settle in his chest. Does the Council know about this? Reynolds met his eyes. They've known for weeks. Before either of them could say more, both their emergency communicators started buzzing. Another council session. The Crest Empire had launched something new. In the chamber, the atmosphere had changed completely. Even the most stoic alien representatives looked shaken. The central hologram showed something out of a nightmare. The Crest Empire hadn't just bombed their latest target. They'd tested a weapon that turned the atmosphere into poison. 6 million dead in the first 60 minutes, the Federation speaker reported. Their crystalline form had gone dull and cloudy with grief. The survivors. They paused, struggling to continue. The survivors are begging us to kill them. The toxin, the effects, they can't be reversed. Miller watched the council members as they absorbed this information. Some showed real horror, but others, he noticed with his trained diplomatic eye, barely reacted. Quick glances passed between certain representatives. Small nods, silent signals. Something wasn't adding up. After the session ended, Miller met Reynolds on a forgotten observation deck that overlooked the docking bays. Reynolds had brought more evidence. "Look at these shipping manifests," Reynolds said, pointing to names on the screen. "These council members have been selling weapons to both sides. Advanced technology way beyond what they claim exists in the public markets." Miller studied the records carefully. "The same representatives who keep voting against any real intervention," he said. Understanding clicked into place like a weapon being loaded. "They're making money off this war." "It gets worse," Reynolds continued. "Remember when they classified Earth as primitive 5 years ago? Look at the original assessment team's report." Miller read through the document and felt rage building with each paragraph. The assessment team had actually been impressed with Earth's military capability. They'd recommended full council membership for humanity, but someone had altered the report, deliberately pushing Earth into observer status. "They wanted us sidelined," Miller said through clenched teeth. "They knew we wouldn't stay quiet if we had actual voting power." A group of Crest diplomats walked past their position, scaled faces showing smug satisfaction. They were heading toward a private meeting with the same council members Reynolds had flagged as corrupt. "The Federation is going to lose," Reynolds said quietly. "Without help, they'll collapse within months, and then the Empire will have a clear path straight to Earth." Miller stood up. His decision crystallized in that moment with perfect clarity. He'd spent 5 years playing the quiet observer, the primitive human learning at the feet of advanced species. He'd watched millions die while the Council offered nothing but empty words and profitable inaction. "Get me everything you have," he told Reynolds. "Every record, every communication, every piece of evidence you can find, and contact Earth Command. Tell them it's time." "Time for what?" Reynolds asked, though his slight smile said he already knew. "Time to show this galaxy that being young doesn't mean being stupid," Miller said. "And being primitive doesn't mean being blind to corruption. Tomorrow I'm addressing the Council whether they like it or not, and I'm going to tell them that humanity is done watching." Miller spent that night in his office surrounded by data tablets showing bank transfers, shipping routes, and classified military documents. Each new piece of evidence made the picture clearer, and his anger burned hotter. Through his office window, he watched the massive station rings rotate slowly against the stars. For 5 years he'd thought the view was beautiful. Now it looked like a monument to failure. "Computer, display the weapons trading patterns again." The holographic projection filled the air with lines connecting dots across the war zone. Ships supposedly carrying medical supplies and food aid were actually running advanced weaponry to both the Federation and the Empire. A soft knock interrupted his analysis. Reynolds entered carrying more evidence and looking like he hadn't slept. "You need to see this immediately," he said, dropping a new tablet on Miller's desk. "We found something about Earth's initial assessment." The document showed a private conversation between council members from 5 years earlier. Miller read it and felt something dark and cold settle in his stomach. The Council hadn't just changed Earth's assessment report. They'd been afraid of humanity. "They studied our history," Reynolds explained. "Earth's military record, how fast we advance during conflicts, how we adapt and improve captured enemy technology. The notes in that document, they were genuinely scared of what we might do if we joined this war." Miller stood and walked to the window. "So they labeled us primitive and shoved us in the corner, kept us watching from the sidelines while they made fortunes from both sides slaughtering each other." His computer chimed with an urgent incoming transmission from Earth. The response to his earlier warning had arrived. Miller opened it, read quickly, and allowed himself a cold smile. Earth is ready, he told Reynolds. The hidden shipyards are fully operational. Everything we've been building in secret for 5 years, it's ready to launch. Reynolds nodded slowly. The Council has no idea about our real capabilities, do they? None, Miller confirmed. They think we have a handful of old ships that can barely reach the edge of our own solar system. They don't know about the technology we've developed, the weapon systems we created by studying their wrecked vessels. Another message flashed across his screen. Fresh casualty reports from the Empire's latest strike. Miller opened the file and felt his resolve harden into something unbreakable. The Empire wasn't targeting military installations anymore. They were erasing entire civilizations and calling it strategy. What about the Federation? Reynolds asked. Will they accept our help? Miller pulled up another set of documents, showing secret communications with Federation representatives. They're desperate, he said. The Council's sanctions aren't stopping anything. The Empire is destroying worlds every week. The Federation will take help from anyone at this point. The station's day cycle began outside his window. Diplomats and officials started their daily routines below. Among them walked the corrupt council members, heading to their private meetings to plan their next profitable weapons deal. We have enough evidence, Miller decided. Documentation of the weapons trading. Proof the Council deliberately suppressed Earth status. Details of the Empire's plans to push into our territory. He straightened his uniform. It's time. They'll try to stop you from speaking, Reynolds warned. They'll say you don't have authority, that Earth is just an observer with no rights. Let them try, Miller said while gathering key evidence files onto one tablet. I'm done observing. Today humanity shows this galaxy what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. As the morning announcements echoed through the station, Miller prepared for the most important moment of his life. In Earth's hidden shipyards, warships were powering up their engines. In the Federation's remaining worlds, hope was nearly extinguished. And in the Council chamber, corrupt leaders were about to learn they'd made a catastrophic mistake. They'd given humanity 5 years to watch, to learn, and to prepare. Now it was time to act. The main Council chamber filled with representatives from across known space. Hundreds of species packed the seats, their conversations creating a low rumble that echoed off the distant ceiling. None of them paid attention to Miller standing near the central platform, waiting for his moment. The head counselor, a tall figure with gray skin like weathered stone, called the session to order. Today we address additional sanctions regarding the Crest Empire's recent actions. He began in his usual monotone, designed to bore people into submission. Miller took a deep breath and stepped forward into the light. Point of order, he said loudly. His voice cut through the chamber like a blade. Earth requests immediate speaking privileges. The chamber went dead silent. The head counselor looked down at Miller with surprise that quickly shifted to annoyance. Observer species do not have speaking privileges during full sessions, he said dismissively. Please return to your designated area. Miller didn't move an inch. Article 47 of the Council Charter, he said clearly, allows any species to speak when presenting evidence of actions that threaten galactic peace and stability. I'm invoking that right. The Council members exchanged worried glances. That was an old rule, nearly forgotten, buried under centuries of procedure. Before anyone could object, Miller activated his tablet. The chamber's main holographic display came alive with evidence. For 5 years, Earth has observed this war, Miller began. We've watched millions of innocent people die. We've watched the Crest Empire destroy entire worlds, and we've watched this council do absolutely nothing except talk. He brought up the shipping manifests and financial records. These council members, he pointed directly at specific individuals, have been selling advanced weapons to both sides of this conflict. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers as the evidence materialized in the air above them. They've made billions in profit while publicly claiming they want peace. Several council members jumped to their feet trying to object, but Miller's voice grew stronger and harder. You kept Earth as an observer because you were afraid of us, he continued. Afraid of what we'd do if we had a voice. Afraid of what we'd say if we saw what was really happening. Well, we saw everything. The Federation representative leaned forward, hope flickering in their crystalline features for the first time in months. The Crest diplomats were frantically sending messages on their devices, faces showing barely controlled panic. You call humans primitive, Miller said. You think we're too young to understand sophisticated galactic politics, but we understand something perfectly. Something you seem to have forgotten. The difference between right and wrong. He displayed the Crest Empire's battle plans showing their planned advance toward human space. The Empire isn't going to stop with the Federation. Your sanctions won't stop them. Your formal complaints won't stop them. But we will. The head counselor found his voice. You have no authority to make such declarations. Earth is joining this war, Miller announced. The chamber exploded into absolute chaos. We're joining on the Federation's side, effective immediately. As if timed perfectly, his tablet lit up with a transmission from Earth. Miller read it and allowed himself a smile. Our ships are launching now. Ships you never knew we had. Technology you thought we couldn't build. The Crest representatives were practically running from the chamber. They just received reports of human warships appearing near their supply routes. You wanted us to watch and learn? Miller's voice cut through the noise. We did learn. We learned that advanced technology doesn't equal wisdom. We learned that age doesn't guarantee morality. And we learned that sometimes the youngest species has to teach the oldest ones what courage actually means. He turned to face the Federation representative directly. Earth stands with you. Our full military capability is at your disposal. Together, we're going to end this war the right way. The chamber had gone completely silent. In that silence, Miller delivered his final statement. Earth is done being an observer. This galaxy needs to understand something about humanity. We have a saying on our world. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We're done doing nothing. As Miller stepped back from the platform, the Federation representative stood and began to applaud. Others joined. First a few, then dozens, then hundreds. The corrupt council members could only sit frozen as their carefully constructed system of profit and manipulation began crumbling around them. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity decided enough was enough. Back on Earth, Admiral Robert Stone stood in the United Defense Command Center, watching hundreds of warships emerge from concealment. The massive holographic display showed vessels appearing throughout Earth's solar system as their stealth fields dropped away, revealing humanity's true strength. Status report, he ordered. His weathered face reflected blue light from the tactical screens. All ships reporting operational and ready, his second-in-command replied. Stealth fields around Mars shipyards are down. Jupiter Station is fully online. Lunar Base is launching all squadrons. Through the command center's reinforced windows, Stone watched Earth's orbital rings shimmer and transform. What had looked like simple trading stations and civilian habitats changed as holographic covers disappeared. Hidden weapon systems activated, massive hangar doors opened to release wave after wave of warships. Send the signal to all fleet commanders, Stone ordered. Operation Hidden Shield is now active. Across the solar system, humanity's carefully prepared forces moved into formation. For 5 years, they'd built in secret, using reverse-engineered alien technology combined with human innovation and creativity. The Crest Empire spies on Earth were sending panicked transmissions back to their commanders. They'd thought Earth's largest ships were small cargo haulers. Now they watched as massive warships, each nearly 2 kilometers long, moved into attack formations. Incoming transmission from the Federation, an officer called out. They're sending coordinates for high-priority targets. Empire supply depots, weapons factories, command centers. Stone nodded. Send our response. Tell them Earth forces will reach the designated coordinates within 6 hours. He allowed himself a tight smile. Let's show them what our supposedly primitive jump drives can really do. In space, the first wave of Earth ships entered jump points. Their engines combined reverse-engineered alien technology with human mathematical innovations, creating jump fields that were larger and more stable than anything the galaxy had seen before. Ships that should have needed days to reach combat zones would arrive in hours. The command center display showed reactions rippling across known space. The Crest Empire was scrambling their fleets, desperately trying to protect supply lines. The corrupt council members were frantically attempting to delete evidence of their weapons trading. And Federation worlds were celebrating as news of Earth's intervention spread like wildfire. Admiral, his second-in-command said quietly, the Crest Empire's ambassador is demanding to speak with Earth leadership. He's threatening severe consequences if we don't withdraw immediately. Stone looked at the latest casualty reports from the Empire's attacks. Tell him Earth's leadership is occupied. We're preparing our response to 5 years of watching genocide. More ships launched from Earth's hidden construction facilities. Each vessel carried weapons and defensive systems that combined the best alien technology with uniquely human tactical thinking. The Empire would expect standard engagement protocols and traditional responses. They had no idea how humans actually fought wars. All fleets reporting ready for combat, the communications officer announced. First wave approaching their targets. Federation forces moving into support positions. Stone touched a control opening a channel to every Earthship. This is Admiral Stone to all vessels. For 5 years we've watched. We've learned. We've prepared. The galaxy thinks they know what humanity is capable of. Today we show them how wrong they are. He looked at the tactical display showing thousands of Earthships moving into attack positions across multiple star systems. We're not fighting for territory or resources. We're not fighting for profit. We're fighting because it's the right thing to do. The Empire thought they could murder millions and face no real consequences. The Council thought they could grow rich from the suffering of others. They were wrong. The first combat reports started flowing in. Earthships appearing from seemingly impossible jump points, striking Empire targets with devastating precision. The Empire's commanders were falling into confusion, facing tactical approaches their military doctrine had never anticipated. All ships commence Operation Hidden Shield, Stone ordered. Show them why humanity is done watching. The galaxy was about to receive an education. Sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the most advanced technology. It's the one fighting for something they believe in with absolute conviction. The Crest Empire's largest supply depot never detected the attack until it was already over. Human ships materialized from jump points directly inside their defensive perimeter, something their commanders had calculated was physically impossible. Before their sensors could even process the threat, Earth vessels had already launched their opening strikes. Admiral Stone observed the battle from his command ship, the Earth Force Defender. Report on first wave impact, he ordered while standing before the primary tactical display. Direct hits on all priority targets, his tactical officer reported. Empire ships are still attempting to raise defensive shields. They didn't anticipate us jumping in so close. A brief pause. Sir, their commanders are broadcasting on open channels. They're in complete confusion. Stone nodded. The Empire had anticipated traditional engagement tactics. Ships appearing at safe distances, long-range battles following standard galactic warfare doctrine. Instead, human vessels had materialized right in their midst, using speed and surprise in ways the Empire had never encountered. Federation forces reporting engagement, another officer called. They're hitting Empire positions in 3 additional sectors. The Empire is attempting to respond but spreading their forces too thin. On the main display, Stone watched Earthships demonstrate another surprise. When Empire vessels finally began returning fire, their weapons passed straight through several human ships. Holograms mixed seamlessly with real vessels, making it impossible to identify which targets were actually there. Transmission from James Miller at the Council station, the communications officer reported. The corrupt Council members are attempting to purge evidence of their weapons trading. Our cyber warfare teams are already inside their systems copying everything. Stone allowed himself a brief smile. The Empire wasn't just fighting ships. They were fighting human creativity and adaptability. While their commanders searched for traditional fleet formations, Earth vessels attacked in seemingly random patterns that actually followed complex mathematical models. While they tried tracking ship positions, human forces used combinations of stealth technology and holographic decoys that overwhelmed their best sensor arrays. Sir, his tactical officer called urgently. Empire reinforcements arriving. 3 fleet groups attempting to surround our forward positions. Spring the trap, Stone ordered. The Empire ships moved confidently into position, believing they'd caught Earth forces in a tactical error. Suddenly, new jump points opened all around them. The second wave of human ships arrived, appearing at coordinates the Empire had determined were impossible to use for jump travel. The hunters found themselves surrounded by their prey. All ships execute Battle Plan Delta, Stone commanded. Show them what happens when you corner humans. The battle that followed would be analyzed in military academies across the galaxy for generations. Human ships moved in patterns that violated standard combat doctrine. They employed tactics mixing ancient Earth military strategies with cutting-edge technology. When Empire commanders tried predicting their movements, they found humans doing the exact opposite of what centuries of galactic military theory said they should do. Empire fleet in full retreat. His tactical officer reported after an hour of intense combat. They've lost 60% of their supply infrastructure and 40% of their responding vessels. The remainder are jumping out of the system. Stone opened a channel to all Earth forces. This is Admiral Stone. First strike successful. Move to Phase 2 targets. Remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to stop genocide and expose corruption. Fight hard, fight smart, but fight with honor. The response came back loud and clear from thousands of voices. For Earth and justice. In the council chamber, Miller watched reports flowing in. The corrupt council members had gone pale watching their weapons trading empire crumble. Federation representatives were cheering as hope returned to their people for the first time in years. Transmission from Earth Command, Stone's communications officer reported. All Phase 1 objectives achieved. Federation forces report Empire withdrawals from 3 contested star systems. The President says to tell you keep pushing forward. Stone looked at the tactical display showing human ships regrouping for their next series of strikes. The Empire was about to learn another lesson about humanity. When humans decided to fight for what was right, they didn't stop halfway. They finished the job. 3 months after Earth entered the war, James Miller stood once more at the central platform in the council chamber. The room looked dramatically different now. Several council member seats sat empty, their former occupants facing trial for war crimes and corruption. The Crest Empire section had shrunk considerably, their influence shattered after their surrender the previous week. The war is over, Miller announced. His voice carried clearly across the chamber. The Crest Empire has accepted peace terms. All conquered Federation worlds will be returned to their people. All weapons of mass destruction will be destroyed under joint supervision. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from across known space. Some showed relief, others embarrassment. Many displayed newfound respect when they looked at Earth's section, which no longer sat tucked in a distant corner but held a prominent position. But ending the war isn't enough, Miller continued. This council failed catastrophically. It failed to prevent genocide. It failed to protect innocent civilizations. Some of its own members profited directly from the suffering of billions. Admiral Stone stood in Earth's section wearing his dress uniform with newly earned medals. Next to him, Federation representatives nodded in firm agreement with Miller's words. Therefore, Earth proposes a complete restructuring under a new council charter, Miller said, bringing up the document on every display in the chamber. No more primitive species classifications used to silence new voices. No more private weapons trading of any kind. No more watching genocide unfold while calling inaction neutrality. The new charter appeared on screens throughout the room. It was direct, clear, and focused on concrete action rather than endless debate, just like humanity's approach to the war had been. Some said humans were too young to understand galactic politics, Miller continued. But youth has advantages that age sometimes forgets. Youth sees clearly what experience sometimes obscures. Youth still remembers instinctively that power must come with responsibility. Youth hasn't forgotten the difference between right and wrong. He gestured to displays showing the current state of known space. Earth's military forces are returning home. The Federation is beginning reconstruction. The Empire is disarming under supervision. Now comes the truly difficult part, making absolutely certain this never happens again. The voting began. Some council members looked distinctly unhappy about the changes, but none dared oppose them openly, not with Earth's proven military capability and moral authority backing every reform. The new charter passed with an overwhelming majority. Later that evening, Miller stood in his office looking out at the station's view of space. Reynolds joined him carrying 2 cups of coffee. Hard to believe only 3 months have passed, Reynolds said, handing Miller his cup. The entire galaxy has completely transformed. Miller nodded slowly. The Empire's war machine is dismantled. The corrupt council members are facing justice. The Federation is free to rebuild. He sipped his coffee. And humanity has shown exactly what we're capable of when pushed too far. His computer chimed with a message from Earth. The hidden shipyards were being converted for peaceful purposes, now serving as centers for technological cooperation between species. Earth's primitive observer status had been officially removed, replaced with full council membership and significant influence. They're calling it the human revolution in some sectors, Reynolds mentioned. Not because we conquered anyone, but because we showed them a completely different approach, direct action against evil, technology combined with moral purpose, power used to protect rather than exploit. Miller smiled. And to think they believed they were protecting us by making us observers. They never understood that humans don't do well just watching. We need to act to help, to make things right. Through his window, ships from various species moved through space. Federation vessels flew with renewed pride. Even a few Empire ships operated there under their new peaceful government. And among them all, Earth ships moved with quiet confidence, their presence a constant reminder of humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. The galaxy learned something crucial, Miller said. Being young doesn't mean being wrong. Being less technologically advanced doesn't mean being less wise. He turned to Reynolds. And being human means we will never stand by and do nothing when we can stand up and do something. As the station's day cycle began again, Miller prepared for another council session. But this time he wasn't walking in as an observer sitting quietly in the corner. He was walking in as the representative of a species that had proved itself. Not through age or superior technology, but through the oldest and most important human traits of all: courage, justice, and the absolute determination to do what's right no matter the cost.